A big thanks to my sponsors, Ibis Cycles, Camelback, PNW Components, Kitspo Cycling Apparel, Cali Protectives, Shimano, Fox, WTB, and Jenson USA. Any purchases at Jenson USA from the below links will directly help support my channel as well.
Hey everyone out there in the digital audio world, Jeff and I are back with a special episode of Kendall vs. Kendall, presented by Jenson USA. This podcast is all about pulling back the curtain on bike-related things that drift through our brain. And today, we pull that curtain back even further. We're stoked to be joined by Aaron Kerson, founder and owner of PNW Components. If you're new to the podcast, let's do some introductions. I'm Seth Kendall, a veteran employee of Jenson USA and recent entrance into the PNW world. Living in Hood River, Oregon now.
Welcome back, Seth.
Yeah, thanks. I'm actually coming home. So,
nice.
And then I'm actually joined by my more impressive alternate universe self, Jeff Kendall-Weed. He's an equal veteran of the bike world, but on a little bit of a different side. And he's actually a PNW Components athlete. So we're pretty stoked about having Aaron here from PNW Components, and having Jeff here to have him actually in-house with Jeff, recording with them on that end of things. So,
woo! Yeah, I got Aaron Kerson.
Welcome, Aaron.
In the studio.
Dude,
welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be in Bellingham.
Cool.
Yeah, if it were up to me, we'd be up here, but got family obligations and whatnot in Seattle. But I mean, Seattle's awesome.
You've got a great situation down in Seattle.
It's good for sure, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but love Bellingham.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, we normally start these off with a little
drive. I mean, it's fairly close.
Oh yeah, it's like no traffic, hour and 15, so it's no biggie.
Nice,
no biggie.
nice.
So yeah, no, it's good.
Well, awesome. So, Jeff, we like to kick things off with a quick check-in of what's been going on in life. You want to get us started with what's going on with you?
I've been pinned. I got this new Ibis Dv9 Hardtail in on just last week after shooting a big video in Durango, and then rode it for a couple days, made a super fun intro video, and rode it more over the week, more than I thought I would. I really like it. And I just started shooting some tutorial videos on how to ride like me, I guess you could say, and you can find those up on my Patreon page. It'll be one new tutorial video a month, starting in October. So that's what's new with me.
Sweet.
What's new with you, Aaron? What do you have going on?
Man, so I think like exactly a week ago, we were getting on a plane back from Taiwan.
Yeah,
so we were visiting factories. Airlines. Yep, eBay. Yep, direct to Seattle. We're at the Taichung Bike Week is what it's called. So cool thing with that is it's mainly an OEM show, so mainly like product developers, product managers from bike brands are there meeting. It's kind of like a trade show, so you're meeting sub-suppliers.
Like
it is a trade show, but what's nice is you can then break away. Like we toured our factory and got to meet there, and we have some really cool projects coming up, which I'm stoked on. We can talk more about it, but yeah, it was a really good week.
Have you been back on your bike since you got off the airplane?
So we rode Raging River twice.
Cool.
Since we've been back. That was earlier in the week, and now I'm feeling fat again, but that's how it goes. But yeah, jet lag's gone, and I'm stoked to ride tomorrow at least.
Sweet.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was good. We were supposed to go to Japan as well, but what is it called? Typhoon Trami came in, and so basically that was a big hurricane right between Taiwan and Japan, and so flight was canceled. So we went home 3 days early.
Oh, man.
But Taiwan was good.
Well, glad you're safe, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it worked out fine. I mean, everyone had to deal with it. It's just our flight from Tokyo back on Monday had already been proactively canceled by Delta. So they're like, all right, we're going to give you a one-time exemption. Like, you can cancel it or reschedule with no fee.
Sweet.
So we headed down.
Cool.
So anyway, I'm a bit of a homebody, so it's nice to be home.
Well, here in the Northwest, who wouldn't be stoked to be out?
Yeah, and this is like the tail end of like the sun, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Well, Seth, Mr. Cougar Bait, what do you have going on?
Oh, man, yeah. So, obviously, cougars. And I'm not talking about the, slang type where it's old women preying on young dudes. Not that type. We're talking actual mountain lions. We've been having reports of them literally sighted on our street, and our street is less than probably a half-mile long total. So kind of crazy. We've had a few sightings around town as well as out on the trails, and so got me a little freaked out just because, you know, the last place I was riding, there was nothing. There was deer and like the occasional beaver, but I've yet to be attacked by a beaver, so I'm feeling pretty safe.
So you had beaver and now you've got cougar?
Yeah, so I went for one night ride the other night with a buddy, and even then, like, oh man, it was kind of intense. And I've been riding a little less because I'm always trying to ride, but most of my buddies can't dip out at the same time as me. So I'm feeling a little bit of what you're feeling, Aaron, where I'm a little bit fat in the tummy right now, just because I haven't been on my bike for almost a week, and so just feeling a little lazy and slow. And unfortunately, we are actually getting hit pretty hard with rain right now. Hoping it dries out for Sunday, though. So
yeah. I think you just need to bring a little catnip with you, throw it out. Mountain lion will be like, oh, nope, I'd rather have that. So,
yeah, I guess that's probably as good as anything, because I was like, man, bear spray, do I bring that? But I kind of just thought that by the time I actually get to it, that cat's going to be all over me if he wants me. So I don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
But catnip seems reasonable.
Yeah, exactly. All spells.
Well, sweet. Well, Aaron's actually our first guest on the Kendall Vs Kendall podcast. So this is pretty cool. We're growing the show. This is rad.
And the bar starts really low, so this is good. So it's all uphill. It's all good from here. So yeah, let's.
You're gonna do great, Aaron. Well, Seth, do you want to get us started with some questions for Aaron?
Yeah, let's get going on that. And it's kind of cool. This is actually going to be the first time that we are actually videoing what we're doing here, and this is going to be broadcast, right? So
I can't promise that everyone will get video because that increases the workflow tremendously, but it'll be interesting to see how it's received and, you know, how long I'll have our producer Colby here edit it up. Hopefully it's not too much of a beast to get online. So yeah, exciting.
Yeah. And everyone knows how stoked Jeff is in all of his videos, right? Like, that's part of the thing. He's always just so amped up. And so maybe I'm going to do my best to be in on that too. Like, yeah.
Oh, just be yourself. That's all you got to do. You'll be great.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, Aaron, I'm stoked to have you on for our podcast today.
No, thank you, guys.
I carry a lot of PNW pride myself as far as living in the area and growing up here and everything. You know, obviously, having a brand with the name PNW in it carries some burden with it, you know, just because there's so much pride in the Northwest here. So curious, like, what was your inspiration for the brand, and kind of, you know, where'd you derive the name besides just location?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, kind of going back. So Emily and I both founded PNW Components. So Emily's my wife. We co-founded it together, and we work on it day in and day out together. So we're the two full-time folks behind it. So she also has bike industry experience. I did as well, and so she, you know, started her journey at Mike's Bikes down in. You know, 13-store chain down in the Bay Area. So she was working there, and then so she was in the Willow Glen, so San Jose area.
Cool.
Yeah, so she was working there in sales, and then at the same time I was at Specialized developing bikes there.
Okay.
We decided to make the move back up to Napa, which is where my parents were, and I started working at Marin. So
that's when you made the change over to Marin Bikes.
Yeah. So ended up there.
What year is this?
This was 2013.
Okay.
So Specialized started in 2011. Maybe it was 2014 I was at Marin. I can't really remember, but sometime around then. Time flies. So I ended up there basically in charge of their mountain bike product development. So I was the product manager for MTB. Later, basically Emily was doing freelance photography and graphic design, and then she ended up in marketing at Marin. So we both were able to commute and sit in traffic together and bring our dog, which was rad. So that worked out well. And then unfortunately we had a pretty bad family health issues, so we had to stop what we were doing, move up here, and I couldn't travel anymore because we had to be around, so I had to leave Marin, which is a bummer, but still have a lot of good buddies there, and basically short-lived, but is what it is.
When did you leave Marin Bikes?
So we came up here March of 2015,
and
so Emily's from
just over a year at Marin.
Not very long at all. Yeah, this happened quick, man.
Tough.
No, it was a bummer, but basically, you know, Emily's from Seattle, born and raised, all her family's up here, so came back up to be around the family, and really missed the bike world. Had a ton of great connections through, you know, manufacturing bike products and getting stuff made. So I started reconnecting with them. At the time, I was totally out of the bike industry. Emily was still working remotely at Marin because she didn't have to travel, which was cool.
Cool.
So yeah, we just kind of started talking. We're like, you know what? There is a huge gap in the market for really high quality products that are affordably priced, but are marketed in a way and like basically creating a sense of community that isn't just focused on like super, super high-end elite level racing. And, you know, coming from a brand like Specialized, where everything's about like Tour de France, about World Cup cross country, World Cup downhill, whatever it may be, they do a really good job at doing that, but that's not who I am, and that's not who a lot of riders are, right? Sure. Like, you may not have any aspiration to race, but you still want to know you have good stuff. So that's kind of where we got things going, and since then, brands evolved. You know, we have higher end products, we have higher quality stuff. It just keeps going up and up, but our prices are able to maintain at an affordable rate. So that's still keeping our promise to customers, but building more of a sense of community around that and the local riding scene. Like, we've done some cool stuff. We're getting involved a lot with the high school race leagues and getting them sponsored, and yeah, it's been cool.
Nice.
It's been very cool. So that's kind of the short, long story, I guess you could say, but really.
Still just you and Emily?
So it's Emily and I doing it full time, and then we've got an engineer. We have product help that we pull in. We have a little bit of social media help, more for like setting up. You know how Facebook is, it's kind of complicated getting your content out there. So we have someone who helps with that, but still Emily's like creating the ads and doing anything that's marketing or branding related.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's been good. So yeah, it's a small team, but
small family team.
Small family team, and we're able to get a lot done, which is cool.
You could say it's a mom and pop operation, but you guys don't have kids yet.
Well, we have a dog, so you know it's kind of close. Well, not really close at all, but yeah, it's a dog mom and pop shop.
Not quite.
Not quite the same. Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at now. But yeah, we have some big plans for this coming year.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. So where's Pmw Base specifically?
Yeah. So we're in Seattle, right in the heart of Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
And so actually, we work out of a home office, and then everyone else we work with is remote. Gives them a ton of flexibility to stay happy, do whatever you like doing during the day, as long as the work's getting done. We don't care. Like,
and in this day and age of Seattle real estate pricing, I think that's the only way to do it.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, you know, you talk about low prices, like having a fancy office in Seattle would not keep that promise, so it's not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I feel your pain. Moving from the Midwest back here, we had just in the home market, we were just like, oh, heart palpitations. We don't want to spend that much.
It's brutal.
But
it's brutal.
It's hard to argue with the area, though. So, okay, obviously Seattle has there's some great trails around there. You guys have some amazing riding and stuff. Let's go through some kind of background information on kind of who you are before we don't jump too far more into PNW as a company.
Yeah.
What's your favorite type of riding?
Favorite type is, you know, my background is in BMX racing is what I grew up doing, and then got
Napa
into
Valley BMX,
Napa BMX track. Donnie Robinson, exactly. Yeah, that's our local pro. So grew up in that whole scene, and then started to shift over into mountain bikes, but still always rode a hardtail, and like started to do a little bit of downhill when I was younger, but mainly was dirt jumping. Like that's all I was doing up until I was about, I don't know, sometime in high school. I started to get the mountain bike bug, started to go to North Star and riding the trails there. And then through college, really started to race quite a bit more.
Where did you go to school again?
So Sierra Nevada College.
Where's that?
It's in Tahoe, right in the Incline Village.
There's a school there?
It's a 4-year school. Liberal arts college, got a business degree there. It's tiny. I mean, the whole school when I was there, I think was like 450 kids.
Wow.
But they have dorms. I mean, it's a really nice school. And that really was the draw, is like, it's in Tahoe, I can ride still. They'll help me out with my racing. Like they, you know, paid for my travel and stuff like that. So that was huge. That was really the big draw. So yeah, anyway, grew up, you know, Bay Area and was riding bikes. And then, I really got into trail riding, which is what I've been doing most frequently. I got into that more like let's see, like around 2010.
Okay.
So I was pretty late to the game.
Well,
I mean, I was still riding downhill, but
the Infineon race when we first met, that must have been 2006 or 7.
That would have been 05. So I broke my back earlier that year, like in May, but then that was like end of this season, if I remember.
Yeah,
because I was able to ride. Race. Okay, yeah. So it was 05.
Is this the race where Jeff was racing on a cracked frame?
Yes.
Yeah, spray painted orange, demo 8, demo bike.
Yep.
All right, so I think we need to actually delve into this a little bit, right?
Like,
I read up on it, but
because you remember it way better than I do.
I just remember it because it was somewhat bizarre, and I was like, wow. Okay, so we are at the Infineon race, which was located in the Bay Area, technically
Sonoma.
a Norba. Yeah, it's in Sonoma. It's technically a Norba race. They had a downhill race, but it was more kind of like they carved a trail out of a hill. Like it was what it was. Anyway, cruising down, I get kind of towards the finish. It's practice, and dude comes flying by, finish line, and then they were doing like shuttles up, right? So you get into the back of a truck and they drive you up. So we're waiting in line, and I don't know, we get to chatting. We were on the same age, I guess, and chatting and look at your frame, and there's some like electrical tape or duct tape wrapped around the rib cage kind of near the rear shock.
I didn't even want to see it. I didn't want to think about it. It wasn't going to change if it was broken or not, but that tape would at least hide it, so I wouldn't have to.
It did. I was like, so I'm looking, I'm like, what's going on here? You're like, oh, dude, my frame's completely cracked. And you press on the bottom bracket with your foot, and the whole frame like just spreads apart. And I was like, you're racing on this? They're like, yeah, dude, it's all good. Like, I'm just here to have fun.
I think
that's
it was
what it's
actually
about.
stronger after it broke. I think there was like the way they engineered that thing, it was too rigid.
It could have been.
And I think that forged piece was just like once it broke, then it could have the flex it needed, and then you would actually be okay. But
it could be.
Before it could flex, it was just a super rigid tuning fork of a. It was better after it broke, to be honest.
Well, that's good. So you got a little compliance in there.
Yeah,
that's
and it
good.
wasn't like
you were
it was
ahead of your
sketchy
time.
and dangerous. Those tubes all around it were massive. So
no, there's no way that frame was going to break in half. It just was like, wow, okay, this is awesome. So I don't know, for some reason that stuck out in my head, and then fast forward, here we are. So no, pretty cool. That was an interesting race.
How'd your race go that weekend?
It was horrible. I broke my back a few months before and hadn't been riding, and I was way off the back. Yeah, I'm sure I must have been last place by far, but it was fun. You know, that's kind of how it goes. And actually, after that, I think that might have been my last like serious race. Like I'll race sea otter here and there, but I think that was the last one where I was like, you know what, maybe just riding is good enough.
And you were ahead of the curve on that one.
Yeah, I was like, you know, maybe it's fun to just kind of mess around and do jumps and trail ride or whatever. And
did you race the collegiate series at all with that Tahoe?
Yeah, yeah, we did. Did you go to the Sky Tavern race by chance?
No, I never made it to the Sky Tavern. So, Seth, are you familiar with the West Coast Collegiate Conference?
A little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Like,
it's awesome.
A lot of the people I know in the industry I first met from the collegiate racing days. So I'm surprised I don't remember Aaron from the collegiate scene. But like, here's yet another West Coast Collegiate Conference former racer who's now in the industry.
There's a ton of us.
And so like,
that's cool.
I went to Cal Poly SLO. We had a huge team. Chico State had a massive team with lots of those folks making an industry. UNR and Reno, they had a big team. Cal Poly Pomona had a big team.
Shout out to Eddie McDonald.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shredward McDiesel.
That's right.
UCSC had a team. I mean, Humboldt State had a real big team.
Yeah.
Allie Osgood is, I think she was on that for a long time, and now I think she won the national women's downhill title. Yeah.
Oh yeah, national. Yeah. Yep. No, there's a lot of good riders.
It's crazy, but no one like outside of the college years really talks about this collegiate scene. But it's massive on the west. It's all over the country, but the West Coast one is real strong, and it's like a massive geographical area, but a pretty tight knit group, and everyone just has to drive a long ways to get to each other's races.
Yeah, I remember the slow race. Where was that at? It was
Parkfield.
Parkfield. You end up camping, and it's awesome. I mean, it's such a fun like festival, and then everyone's like, you know, hurting the next day and trying to race, and you're just like, oh god, this is dangerous, but still fun. But no, we did that. I mean, I was a team of one at my school. No one else raced.
Okay.
But I like every like I was the president and the secretary. You know, it was. It's kind of like that. It's a small school, man. But it got me to the race.
But you were also a legend because of it. I mean,
I was like signing
look at our racer. He's amazing.
Signing my own arm, you know, as an autograph. So that was cool. But yeah, it was a team of one. But anyway, that was a good start. Yeah, I run into people all the time that I remember from races that are like working at bike brands now.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
it's rad.
I think about like marketing managers at Specialized to this day were friends of mine from the race from the West Coast days. But anyhow, enough about that. Seth, there's a couple other great questions here for Aaron.
Yeah. So obviously you got your start in kind of BMX stuff, but you're kind of more into the trail riding stuff. Do you have a favorite bike at this time?
Yeah, man. So I'm currently on a Evil Following MB. So it's shorter travel, sick bike, super sick. But I'm just going to be upgrading here soon to the Offering. So that's their 140. I'm going to throw 150 up front just for, you know, the Following is an incredible bike for what it is. Like, you don't notice that it only has 120 millimeters of travel. But like if you're really thrashing through like, you know, Predator or something, like a double black or something, like your back starts hurting.
How long's the fork on that bike?
130 up front.
Okay.
29er, so I mean that helps. And I've got the pretty big tires.
That's
so
like
I mean,
my old Ripley LS then.
Yeah, I mean it's really not that bad, but there are times where I'm like, I could use a little extra travel. So I think the offering will be pretty dialed.
Cool.
So I'm stoked on that. This is my first 29er.
Okay.
I fought that very hard. But being, I'm 6'2", it doesn't feel that awkward. I was surprised. Like the transition really wasn't that bad, but jumping like up on Mohawk, it feels a little like that. You can feel the bigger wheel.
Yeah, it's harder to get it into the pockets.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels different.
Yeah,
so
there's a little bit of body English that comes with 29ers, and you know, Jeff and I have talked about this a little bit. I'm on the shorter side. I'm 5'9", and I fought the 29er thing so hard, but man, once I kind of figured out the body English, they're actually in some ways, it's like a more visceral riding experience for me because I have to throw the bike around or I have to like pop a little differently. And so I actually find that I really like the wagon wheel over the smaller wheels. And with that being said, if I were buying like a downhill bike or park bike, I think I would still go smaller. But man, I really like my 29er. So I'm actually on a Ritmo right now, but that offering looks luscious.
Sick.
Looks so good.
Yeah, I've got, well, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I saw a great thing on Pink Bike. So Seth, Jenson's an evil dealer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I saw this great thing that in Pink Bike that Evil should offer a 26-inch wheel bike and call it the commenting.
Awesome.
They can sell tens of bikes that way.
We'll do tens of these. It's a new bonus. Yes, that would definitely get some comments. Yeah, I mean, so outside of that, I've got YT2s, I don't know how you pronounce that. So that's for the bike park, you know, Whistler, Stevens.
26 or 27.5?
27.5.
Okay.
That bike's sick. Nice. I've had it for a few years. I think they're first gen, and it's like I usually am kind of flip bikes over just to stay current or whatever, but I haven't touched that thing, and it's rad.
Is there a Bachelor 170 dropper post on it?
So I had a Cascade on there for a bit, and then I was like, why am I doing this? What am I trying to prove here? Because it didn't help it. You know, like you're literally going from the lift. Yeah. It's just extra weight, so I got rid of it.
You know, the only time I've seen a dropper work on downhill bikes is the Fontana races.
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, you got that climb.
That whole flat section along the fence. And so I literally watched buddies who would put on dropper posts because they knew they could win it across that pedal section there.
Well, I mean, that's such a long section that you can make up seconds there. And it's unfortunate because you'd like to think it's in the technical stuff, but it's not. It's the flats.
Those guys run a great program. Yeah. Like, it's Team Big Bear that still runs the Fontana races, right?
I mean, it was when I was around. I don't know.
Man.
I don't know.
It's actually, I think it's moved on to, man, why am I blanking on his name? Gonna fail to remember.
Someone down there.
I haven't been down to one of those in, almost 10 years. And the Big Bear guys are all super nice and super organized and super dialed, and they were just like, you come back to the next one, and I just was like, guys, I'm never coming back again. You're really nice. You run a great program. I'll see you at Sea Otter. High fives there. But I can't race this place anymore.
You know, the good thing about it, though, is it serves like a kind of critical area.
Oh, totally,
because Southern California, man, we have some amazing trails, but it's hard to kind of isolate a community around trails. Whereas like slow and stuff, I mean, you guys have just heaps of trails in that area that are really close to town and stuff. And so this one, you know, honestly, the course is
but what's really frustrating is you're on this course, but then you look out around and there's these huge mountains that surround the valley, but you're like on this little hill in the center of the valley. It's like, well, what about those over there? And then we did the Box Springs Enduro, and that was a pretty legit 7-minute like downhill course, like not like gnarly, but it was down a real much more of a hill. So
and that's like our backyard, but even that, like, getting that trail actually legitimately opened again and able to be used for that was like a whole thing in politics, and it's been messy and whatever, and it's like it's getting better, but man, like the Inland Empire, that whole area has had its moments of struggling with the idea of adding trails to hills and stuff. So it's a bit of a rough thing, but I'm thankful for the Fontana races for that. It's, you know, lots of kind of cool people have come out of that and used it as a training ground to kind of get into the scene of downhill racing and everything. So, you know, I mean, Aaron Gwynn being one of them. So
no, I mean, and it's such a it's cool because it's such a big community there. Like it brings everyone from, like you said, there's not like one. It's not like, oh, there's Bellingham and like tons of people here ride and people come here to ride, and it's a destination. Like for there, it pulls everyone from Southern California and even Northern. And they're there for a race. Like that's what's the same thing with Sea Otter, right?
The community aspect of it.
The community aspect's huge. Same with Sea Otter. Like that part's fun. But yeah, there's better riding, I'm sure. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But
anyhow, we're here to talk about PNW Components.
So we'll run through a few more here. Favorite trail.
Sorry, what?
What's your favorite trail?
Favorite trail.
Yeah.
I've been really loving our local stuff. So Raging River is rad.
Cool.
So I've been riding just the front part. So it's like nice after work or lunch spot where you can just ride up to Poppin' Tops. And that's basically a flow trail all the way down. It's sick. I don't think we rode that when we were there. It wasn't open yet. It's very cool. So it's it's on the front side. So I've been we loop that quite a bit. It's got some jumps and some berms and stuff. And then Tiger, I always love that. We have a new trail called No TG.
Huh.
So you ride up to the top. Well, not the very top, but like
where you drop in,
the upper section, like up near Predator, and it goes the other way. So it drops down the eastern side of the mountain, and then it loops in, and then you can actually get on a fire road and then go ride Predator. So you get like 2 black trails.
Kind of like a figure 8 loop.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So that's been really fun, and that's it's cool. So it's only if you do both of those trails, it's like a 7.7 mile ride.
Okay.
But you're getting like 2,300 feet of climbing in, so it's pretty steep, which is good. But that's been really fun.
There's a lot of great riding in Issaquah right there.
Dude, there's so much. So like our local spot's Tokal.
Yeah.
Because you can ride there no matter what the weather's doing. Stays good. Cool. So we ride there quite a bit, and then come up here, I guess, because it's usually pretty good through the winter. Yeah. So you guys get snow. I mean, it's not like
Squamish. That's all we can say.
Yeah. In the middle, exactly. So yeah, it gets a little soupy, but not so bad.
Cool.
Yeah.
When we were shopping jobs for my wife this last year, she, put the Pacific Northwest on. She was like, "Where do you want to live?" And I was like, "Well, pretty much anywhere from Portland all the way to Bellingham." I was like, just lining it up with trails along the whole western corner.
It's really Ashland to Bellingham. So, I mean, holy cow.
No, we're spoiled.
So I love Ashland, and it's great, but for my family and kind of location to everyone, it was not going to make our list, unfortunately. Okay. Great to visit, and I'm glad I live close enough to make that happen, because amazing riding.
Yeah.
But we were looking a little more northern and trying to get close to family and all that. So
yeah. No,
Aaron, how about favorite beverage? We know Jeff is into kombuchas. I am trying this IPA thing. I'm struggling a little bit right now, but working on it.
Yep.
What's your thing?
Let's see. So I enjoy kombuchas here and there for sure. I drink a ton of water, but outside of that, so I doubt you care about that. So alcoholic beverages, I do enjoy some IPAs. I don't drink a ton, but I do like IPAs for sure. We've got just in our neighborhood, I think there's like 8 breweries, maybe 10. So it's crazy. And there's this one called Stoop that makes super good. Like their thing is IPA, and seems like every time we go there, they have a new one, like 3 new ones that they're trying out, and then they've got like their staples. So they'll have like 6 different IPAs on tap at any given time.
Can you ride to the trails from that brewery?
That's where we're limited. Is no.
Oh.
No. We are like, a good 40 minutes to an hour drive.
Okay.
Which is a bummer, but could be worse. But that's more like we can ride our bikes to that. Mm-hmm. From our house. That's as close as I can get.
Nice. That's so cool. That's what the urban commuter is for, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we got our commute bikes. We ride down there. So IPAs, and then outside of that, I don't know. Cool. That's about it. Yeah.
I've got a PNW Components question for you.
What's up?
Out of the current range of products, what one item are you most proud of?
Oh, Lawn Lever.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing is. I have one right here, guys. So no, it's so we just released this 2 weeks ago, I think? Something like that. So already sold out of our first shipment, immediately. So people are excited, and that's without any reviews. So I mean, that for me is, it means a lot. That means that just aesthetically, they trust the brand because of just our track record with droppers and what people are saying online, but also that the product looks up to par with the quality level that it actually is.
Nice.
So that's been huge. So yeah, that was a big project. Our engineer completely kicked butt on that one.
Cool.
I'm very, very proud of that one.
Nice.
Yeah, that's definitely a good addition to the line.
All right, so give our listeners the 411 on what makes this thing cool. I mean, obviously pretty, right? We got that good machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. So
let's show it off.
Let me bust this thing out. So all recyclable packaging, everyone. By the way.
Key here.
But yeah, we've got I mean, it's a killer dropper post lever. This thing's super minimal. It's lightweight, but the big features are we wanted weatherproof. You know, we live in a pretty nasty area 9 months of the year, so needed something that we could actually ride on our own bike. So we went pretty big with the weatherproofing. Everything on here is stainless, way oversized sealed bearing. And then we went a step further where we actually made this custom screw that holds the bearing in there, and it has a weather seal as well. So it's double sealed. So no water's getting in here. You can literally point a pressure washer at it, not going to screw it up. So that's pretty cool.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's super tight tolerances. So with that, you know, we do have a high defect rate on the production line where we have to throw a lot of these out, but that is what it is. We got to have a good product, right? So the other part is adjustability. It's got 2 forms of adjustment. So on the back side, you can actually move a little set screw that adjusts where the lever is at in conjunction with your bar. So you can have it more inboard or outboard, which is cool.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, a little set screw like a derailleur almost.
Cool.
So you got that, and then a 2-point adjustment for where your clamp is. So basically you can move it fore aft, in and out, depending on where you want it set up in your cockpit. And then last thing that I think is awesome, aside from it being a really nice finish and everything, is this little rubberized pad. So it's made out of silicone. Helps you in the mud. We actually did some testing here of slip grip, you know, when putting it in a sink and pouring some water over it and testing it versus just straight up alloy. But it's also comfy. I mean, it's a nice cushy pad, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
And no other levers have that, so that's something unique that we can stand on.
So yeah, I think it's pretty cool too, because I remember back in the day, and this is early Crank Brothers, like when they were kind of making the first splash of dropper post, being legitimized, I should say, not the first dropper post, but kind of cracking the market. We were putting grip tape on ours to make it grip a little more. However, the problem with that is it would wear through your gloves eventually. So you're like, yeah, that's not awesome.
Yeah, it's like too much grip. Yeah, it starts to rub through. Yeah, so the rubber, that's no issue. It's more like a grip.
Nice. Well, I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. Aaron actually sent me one of these levers, and I've got it installed on my bike and getting ready to do some riding and testing of it to see how it holds up to, riding, weather, all that kind of stuff. But so far, my initial impressions are super high on this thing.
Nice.
The machining is just stunning on how this lever turned out. It installs super easy. It's got the clamping actually at, or the crimping of the cable at the lever, so it makes it compatible with basically every post that's out there that runs a cable.
Yeah.
And man, on first blush, this thing feels really good. I'm quite impressed. So I need to get it out on the trails. Unfortunately, this week I've been kind of just slammed and haven't gotten out, but hoping to get out there pretty soon and start smashing it around, seeing what I can do.
Well, don't skip out on riding tomorrow if it's raining, because that lever is going to be able to handle the rain.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, maybe I need to just go.
It encourages it. No, thank you, man. I'm glad to hear that. The interesting challenge with this is we wanted to actually use suppliers that weren't just tied to the bike industry. An advantage to that is one issue they can run into is if you're using a huge factory, they're going to be dialed. Like, they're going to have a lot of really good quality control. They're going to have great processes. They know this stuff inside and out. The problem, though, is everyone from every big brand is in those factories, and so you're all basically sharing each other's trade secrets. So if we used a traditional one, there's risk that a few months from now, some other big brand would have a lot of our cool, unique features. So this, obviously anyone can get their hands on this, so it is what it is. But what's nice is we're able to kind of get outside of our normal supply chain and makes really high quality stuff with these really, really kind of like boutique machine houses.
How is it working with those guys?
It's been great. So our engineer takes the lead on all that, and he's been living in Taiwan. He's an American guy, but he's lived in Taiwan for about 15 years now, just doing this.
Wow.
So I mean, he knows this stuff inside and out.
Yeah.
So he's very kind of like meticulously chosen which factories we're working with, because every component of the lever is someone different. Like there's a CNC shop, there's a bearing place, there's the assembly. There's a bolt manufacturer, all the bolts are custom made. The silicone pad, all of these things are separate. And so
bolts are all custom made.
Yeah, so we have to buy like 20,000 at a time just to meet the minimum orders. Yeah. But because of the specs we had, we needed to. Because, that's the other part is we didn't want to just, I don't know, you kind of cut corners on aesthetics just because it was readily available. Like we wanted this thing to look really good.
Yeah.
Which requires buying something custom sometimes. Nice. So I mean, this is the real deal. This thing is legit. Yeah.
No, it's real clean looking, and I like the color selection. I went with gray on gray. Obviously, we were trying to keep it a little bit on the easy to blend side with people's bikes, but
Totally.
there's all kinds of cool little colors for those pads, so you can kind of match your style and everything, which is rad. So
Yeah,
man, it's clean. I'm excited to have it on my bike. I'm a little sad that I'm going to have to give it up at the end, so I may have to buy one later on. So, yeah.
No worries, dude. No worries.
Dude, I was sad about the Dv9. I got to send that thing back like today or Monday or something, and I'm like, I'm just starting to really gel with this thing. I feel your pain there, Seth.
Well, hopefully that box packs up easy for you on the second time. I know it's easy to get our bikes out, but hopefully it's easy to put it back in.
Ugh,
and it's big enough I can fit all of my old foam and inflatable inserts from Amazon. I can fit all that stuff in there, and my house will be clean for a few weeks.
There you go. There you go.
The side benefit.
So, Aaron, I know you have a few key riders that you guys support. And obviously, Jeff being one of them, we've heard a little bit of how you guys met and everything. But what's kind of the ethos behind the riders that you've chosen to work with?
Yeah. I mean, first, Jeff, thank you, man. Like, this has been an awesome year. Like, hope we can keep things going. So, no, that's been really good. And yeah, we talked about kind of how we got to meet, and it's obvious why we're working with them. So, thank you. Yeah, so that's been good. But outside of that, so we have 3 other riders outside of working with Jeff. So we have Kyle Warner, who's riding for Felt, and then we have some folks that are local as well. So we have Austin Hemperly, so he's down in Bend.
Okay.
Rad local shredder, like, guy's a madman.
Nice.
Well, I got a story about him. But yeah, and then there's Damian Salerno as well. So he's down on the Oregon coast, like a little bit southern Oregon style.
I follow him on Instagram. He's up to some cool
stuff. Yeah, I
just
followed him because of, so I posted my initial review photo thing and was like excited to get into that. And I think you tagged him, maybe Aaron, but I went to go check out his stuff and I was like, good heavens, this dude is creative on a bike.
Right? No, he's super sick. Yeah, he and Austin both are like the classic, I don't know what you would even call it. It's not weekend warrior because they're riding every day. I mean, this is their passion and their sport, but like they're super creative. I'm hoping what we can do maybe is get everyone together and go ride together sometime, because like what's cool about them is, we look for obviously good people, and what we need to work on. Emily's really kind of taken the lead on this. Like, we need to get more women involved.
Okay.
There's just a huge void for that in the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And we're going to be focusing on that in a big way. So any women riders that are, PNW focused, please hit us up. Like, we're really wanting to support the women riding scene and expand that in a big way. So that's something big for 2019.
Cool.
But yeah, what we look for is, obviously good reputation. Are they good with people? Great riders, but really we want to find people that are outside of the standard mold of like what makes a good rider, right? Like, not just good race results, or not just like squeaky clean, great on camera type of thing, but like we want people who have creative lines, who are doing creative things in their community, but also with their social media outlet, because that tends to get people stoked, gets you thinking like, could I try that? Like, could I go foof a ledge on my mountain bike, or could I could I tree ride or do something like that? So that's kind of what we look for, and we don't have a huge budget. That's part of how we keep our prices low. Like, you're not going to see us, not that we have anything against it, we just don't believe in the traditional form of marketing where you spend a ton of money on like a World Cup team, and that's your form of marketing.
You mean there's not a PNW box truck outside?
There's not. No, there's a Subaru Outback, but it's a close compromise.
So you've got the Pacific Northwest uniform then?
Yes, yeah, it's like the PNW Cadillac basically. So yeah, that's kind of what we look for. I know that's somewhat ambiguous, but I think biggest thing is like we want people who are kind of outside the mold and love riding because it's fun, not just because it's like a career path. Yeah. That's another part. So with Kyle, like Kyle's been racing forever. He's I think 4-time national enduro champion in the U.S. He's won races down in Mexico. Awesome dude. Like, I knew him from Marin, so he was one of the team riders while I was at Marin. We became buddies, and he was the first person I hit up when I started this. So yeah, he's been great. Awesome with his community, really talented rider, but also super creative on the bike. And he's doing more and more stuff online too, so that's been good. Yeah.
Cool. I have 2 quick tech questions that I wanted to ask Aaron.
Yeah,
so,
let's do it.
I know Fox does the transfer in 185. I wanted to ask if we could possibly expect any longer drops than the 170 at any point in the future.
Could we do like a survey? Because I'll just leak it out. We have a 200 millimeter version dropper. I saw the final product while I was at the factory. It's done.
Nice.
My worry is, because we have to manage cash, right? So
Sure.
like, do we bring in more 150s, 170s, or do we sacrifice some of those and bring in some 200s?
Yeah.
And then there's the added question of 34.9. So if you guys in the comments,
the second part of my question is 34.9.
So we're bringing in a 34.9. It'll be here in December.
Okay.
It'll be in 150, 170. So that helps with those of you on a Reckoning or a Stumpy or an Enduro, or I think some of the Niners have those. Some of the Surleys. There's more brands jumping on board. We'll have that, but I'm curious about the 200. Like if you have a post that's over 500 millimeters long, will that fit your bike, and are you interested in that? Because I'm happy to bring them in, but I need to know what you guys want.
Looking across the shop in my Ritmo, I see like 4 inches of seat post hanging out.
I think you're good.
170, so yeah, I'm a fan of trying the 200.
Okay.
Although it might hit the 29er at bottom out. Uh-oh, hold the phones.
Yeah, so MTBR actually played around with this, and if you guys know Francis, he's on the shorter side as well. But when I was talking to him about the Ritmo prior to buying it, he was like, oh yeah, man, I totally can run a 200 on there. So it has been confirmed that it can go on there. It's the seat rub thing is a reality.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go through full compression and you have it in full bottom out. But I think if I remember correctly, he even said that at that length, he had some exposed seat tube from the post itself.
Nice.
And so I'm in. I want to try the 200. I think that sounds awesome.
I mean, if you guys can leave in the comments, like this is what I need to know. So this is very useful.
What's your email address?
Or you can just email us direct. So just hit us up at info@pnwcomponents.com, and we'll. I field most of those, so I'll get back to you.
Cool.
But that would be rad.
I'll send an email.
Well, cheers to Ibis for making a seat tube that's straight. Oh my God, we have so many there's a lot of bikes where the longer travel stuff, you get the little kink in the seat tube, and you can't even run a 150.
Oh my goodness.
So so that's a thing. But there's more brands coming on board, and I think any frame that's like come out as a new version recently should be fine for the most part. But there are a few where it's a challenge. Anyway, good for Ibis. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think this gives our listeners a bit of a view of the challenge that manufacturers face, right? Like we want to obviously have products that are going to address riders' needs and kind of meet trends and stuff. But at the same time, there's this balance of, the cost of bringing in items and having them.
Yeah.
If the trends aren't going to move that way, Jeff and I have talked a lot about 29 and a little bit on the boost, super boost and all that kind of stuff, which we haven't gotten too far. But it is this challenge of the bike industry to try to predict the trends that are going to come from various brands, as well as the pressures for trends from the actual consumers themselves.
Yeah.
And so is this something that's been a challenge for you guys, or do you have ways of dealing with this? Did you learn anything maybe in your past jobs that helped you predict this ahead?
Oh, big time, yeah. So here's the nice thing. So on the OEM side of things, so OEM being basically a bicycle brand, you're making decisions sometimes 2 years ahead. And so really the big ones are, I spent a lot of time, especially, Specialized and Marin, going to shops internationally. Like I would go, I've been to Colombia, I've been to Brazil, all over Europe, through Asia, Southeast Asia, talking to shops, going to events, talking to riders, talking to distributors. That gives you some indication, but a lot of times those are decisions that are current. Like, oh, well, I wish that it had this spec. It's like, okay, that's very good to know. But in terms of forward-thinking trends, like, are we going to adopt this new thing called Boost that none of us had heard of? But we overheard it in a vendor meeting in Taiwan. We're sitting there and someone starts talking about 148, and we're like, what is this? This is back before Boost was even released. And then sure enough, we were able to get the info that, Cannondale's working on this new thing so that with a 29er wheel, you have a wider hub and the flange can be out and you get better spoke angle, so the rim's stronger and you can do shorter chain stays, blah, blah, blah. So we're like, kind of looked at each other still like, really, you have to do that? But that's how we first heard about it, and that's how this whole thing started. So that's kind of an interesting way that Taiwan really ties all this together, and things do leak through the industry, and that's just the reality of it. So Cannondale, they got a big jump on it, but then we all were kind of reactively getting ahead of that one. That's not something you would have heard in a shop. Like, oh, I wish that your hub was 6 millimeters wider. Like, that's not. So you kind of have to balance that. And then the thing that really bugs me is like proprietary standards for parts. I get why bike brands do it, and sometimes those standards or those like changes become a global standard, but a lot of times it doesn't, and then you're stuck with a bike where the customer can't upgrade it, and that's not cool. So that's always been a balance too, because like if you were just to make a fully custom bike every time, you could accomplish some cool things, but you have these other components you need to put on there. You can't forget about, right?
I don't want to name any companies and bikes specifically.
There's some that have done that, that are notorious for it. So anyway, that's improving a lot.
We'll keep our friends.
Yeah. So long story short, on the aftermarket side, like where I am now, we're right in front, working with customers directly. We're able to move a lot faster because we're not having to worry about placing a purchase order at a factory 9 months ahead of when we need it, and then starting that development a year and a half before that, because that's a long lead time, and it's hard to change things once, you can't course correct as easy. But with aftermarket, it's like with the 200, for instance, like design's done, it didn't cost a lot to change that design.
Sweet.
The product will be the same price. So now it's a matter of, do we do it or not? And do we manage that cash? Like, would it be better to buy more loam levers or buy some more 200 millimeter posts? Like, that's kind of the balance that I worry about now. So it's a different challenge, but it's not like the OEM one. That one's really challenging, just because of how far ahead you are.
If we have any possible investors listening, should they also email info@PNW Components?
It's funny you bring that up. So I put together a 3-year financial plan, and we have a business plan put together, and we're actually ready to get some investment
and grow the company a bit.
Yeah, I mean, our issue now is we're growing so quickly that every bit of profit that comes in the door goes immediately into buying more inventory, which limits our ability to bring new products. Like we have a pedal project that's pretty much done, but I need to buy it, and we have more levers, we have more droppers, we have more handlebars, we have lots of new products that are pretty much ready. But it's balancing the cash needs because we keep growing. We need money to market.
The tax man's going to need his cut.
Taxes need to be paid, And then there's international expansion. Like New Zealand and Australia keep hitting us up. We have distributors there, but in order to get the product, you have to buy it first. You know what I mean? So it's an ongoing thing. So if there are any investors out there, we're ready to go.
Nice.
Yeah, we have everything already. It's just a matter of doing it.
Sweet. Yeah. I think I got $100 I can spare.
Dude, let's do it. We can crowdfund this thing.
Yeah, man.
Was it called microfinancing? I like it.
Exactly.
It's called GoFundMe.com.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, guys.
I was going to run a GoFundMe to get a 360 camera, and then I just realized that was way too much work to either do or to actually edit as well. So,
You calculate like your hourly rate of what you would be, like your missed opportunity, you could probably just wash someone out. You're like, it's not worth doing the GoFundMe. But
Fair enough.
That's how it goes. So anyway.
So obviously, I don't know if it's necessarily any secret, but you've released a few possible products that are on the horizon for us. So that's obviously kind of a cool thing. So listeners out there, you may be seeing some cool things coming. One of the products, though, that you have on your site and you're offering already is your aluminum bars. And, carbon bars are kind of the hot thing, right? They're light, they have some damping, etc., all that kind of stuff, but they're really expensive, and there are some challenges with carbon bars.
Yeah.
But you have this aluminum bar that is actually pretty unique in the world of aluminum bars. You want to give us a little 411 on that?
Yeah, it's called the Range Handlebar. So you're right, carbon is an interesting material. It has some great compliance stories to it. It can be very light. The challenge the industry as a whole is coming up with now is everyone wants wide bars. They want lightweight bars. That can hinder strength. So I've seen a few like sheared off bars, and that's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. So as a small brand, not trying to get involved with that quite yet. But then we started looking around like, okay, aluminum, there's still a lot that can be done with aluminum. It kind of, you think about like the late 90s, everyone was all in with aluminum, started to do some really cool technologies there with different alloys and heat treatment. And then carbon showed up and pretty much all R&D for alloys stopped. Mm-hmm. There's a few brands that are still, like Specialized did a lot of research into it, and they did some cool things recently. A few other brands too, like Cannondale, but outside of that, focus has been in R&D of carbon, right? Yeah. So anyway, went to our factory, we're kind of talking to them about some ideas we had, and they have an alloy that is 70-75 alloy, so a really high grade of aluminum. The issue with it in a handlebar is it can be pretty harsh, like really stiff, but also very light. So we started looking at different heat treatment processes. So the whole thing with heat treatment is, it strengthens the bar because it heats up the mixes of, alloy is a mix of different materials like zinc, magnesium, aluminum, all these different things. And depending on how long and how high of a heat you use, it'll change the properties of the metal. So the standard one is T6, aluminum, 6061 T6. That's like all day long.
I've heard that my whole life.
Works great.
Yeah.
Works great. No, that's like the Honda Civic of aluminum. Like, it's awesome. Like, works very well. Everyone uses it. But we're looking at 7,000, so it's lighter. So anyway, we found a heat treatment process with our factory called T73. And what it does is it heats it up for a little bit longer. So if you're thinking of a curve, of a graph, in terms of stiffness, it's going to peak here. We take it a little bit further so that some compliance starts to come back into the bar, but you're still getting the strength and you're still getting the lightness that you want.
But that's going to cost more, though.
And it costs more.
Yeah.
But because of our business model and the relationship I have with this factory, we're able to pass the bar on at 69 bucks.
Yeah.
And so this thing is, again, the real deal. It's just we don't have the massive marketing budget to cram it down everyone's throat. But this thing's 300 grams. Most carbon bars are like 270. So
That's
you're
the
getting
same weight.
Yeah, it's basically the same weight.
Can't we just talk about weights in ounces and pounds?
Yes.
It makes it way more like feasible. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
Right?
exactly. So we're basically there with a carbon bar. Technically a little heavier, but we're at a fraction of the cost. The other thing we did is we went with a 31.8 millimeter bar bore rather than 35. So everyone's loving the 35 because it looks cool. With carbon bar, totally makes sense because you need it for strength reasons. But with alloy, totally overkill. It just looks cool. But oh my God, it makes for a harsh bar.
Yeah.
So
it
we've gone with
definitely
31.8.
things up.
some
And like
nice-
you said, in carbon, that's
Yeah.
a good effect. But in an aluminum bar,
It's
yeah,
overkill.
it just kind of feels like you're getting beat up by your handlebar.
Exactly. So the 31.8, brings some compliance back in there. The bar rides well.
Yeah.
It's good, and it's affordable. I mean, it kind of marks all the check marks. So.
And Jeff, you're running this, right?
oh yeah, I've got the range bar on all my bikes. I'm a big fan. It's cool. I cut them down a little bit. They come super,
780.
Yeah, they come wide. I usually cut them 765 on the more aggro bikes and like 745 on a little bit shorter wheelbase bikes. I want to have feel a tad more front wheel movement on. So yeah, I'm a big fan of them. They're comfy.
So that's a good
Nice.
point. I think that's fascinating. Is everyone that I talk to is like, why isn't it 800? Why isn't it 800? And I'm like, that's a really wide bar, but okay.
That's like the regular thing where like people think they want to buy something, but
Yeah.
in reality they should be on something else. So it's like, what do you do? If I would probably just say sell the 800 mil bar just so you can stay in business and grow the company, because there's no one saying you can't cut an 800 down to 745.
No, there's no issue with that at all.
So.
Yeah, so that's a nice thing. But 780's right there.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is a lot of pro riders now are actually going much narrower. Like I was talking, so you do it as well. Kyle, I think, is around the same width, which is something we don't hear about too often.
Dude, I cut the bars on my Mojo tie, which is just underneath Seth right here. It's actually, my Mojo tie is holding Seth up.
Hey.
Cut those bars down a ton, and they feel so, but like bike geometry, bike size, rider size, all that plays into it. And the Mojo tie is a pretty steep head angle. It's probably like a 70 with a 90 mil stem. And the 720 bars I had on there were impossible to ride, so I went down to about 700, and that feels way better.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So like on a road bike, a longer stem all of a sudden slows your steering down and feels more aggressive. Whereas you'd think like a mountain bike background, shorter stem, more aggro. But it's like funny how the geometry can totally revert some of that stuff.
Especially with these longer reach bikes now.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Where then you're just like, fully stretched out with the wide bar. So yeah, anyway, interesting.
Yeah, my magic point is somewhere around 760, 765. I'm currently on 800s, and it's fine in kind of the wide open spaces, but I will be cutting those down. I just haven't gotten the saw out yet to do it.
Especially with trees, man, it's easy to bonk your hands, and I don't know.
Yeah, and that was a funny thing with, I lived in the Midwest for the last 4 years because of my wife's job, and I had come from kind of the open lands of Southern California where there's hardly any trees and you're railing these kind of desert hills and stuff. And so like a wide bar didn't really matter out there because you could go as wide as you want and nothing was going to clip you. And then I moved to the Midwest, started riding trees, and immediately I was like clipping trees. I was oversteering into things. And so I actually found that I found that kind of 760 point was my happy zone for being able to have the support I needed, but able to get through trees and stuff like that. So it's kind of my magic point.
Yeah.
So and I noticed the bar width more when cornering and when throwing the bike around. And that when the bar is super wide, I can't corner it because I run out of arms. I'm not very tall. I'm 5'8", and my arms aren't very long, so I can't lean the bike over. So the narrower ones, I can move the bike more. And even the tree thing around here in Bellingham, we don't have that many narrow trees. I was trying to shoot a video for Ibis with their new bar. I'm not riding in that video or anything, but I was like, I couldn't even make a riding video going through narrow trees because even here in the woods, our woods aren't even that tight.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's a totally different type of forest, right?
Yeah, yeah, compared to the Midwest for sure. I've got one last tech question for Aaron here, if that's okay, Seth.
Yeah, go for it.
So I thought it'd be fun to ask, which of your competitors do you think is like a really, if you could say what's your favorite competitor product out there, what would it be and why?
I'm loving the OneUp's EDC tool. Is that what it is? That fits in the steer tube? I think that's such a clever thing. And they really have done like a nice execution of it. I think that's definitely a cool product.
Sweet.
Outside that, I always appreciate Fox. Like their suspension components are rad. I think they keep doing some nice stuff.
They do make a seat post, so that's a direct competitor.
Yeah. Oh, not a direct. Well, so does OneUp. But yeah, it's I mean,
if you were
there's a lot
riding
of dropper
PNW
brands.
Components dropper post, what dropper post would you ride?
You know, we've tested them all. I mean, we have to, right? We have to see what's going on.
There's a lot of good ones out there, too.
Yeah, I mean, I like what OneUp's doing with the travel adjust. That's super clever. I think that's a cool one. The Fox Transfer works great. Yeah. So, I mean, that one's a go-to. Other thing nice with that is, you know, it has the Fox brand. So if you ever go to, you know, resell the bike, that's an easy one. Yeah, I think those two, definitely some solid brands. I like those guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm digging on that OneUp tool. I use the pump version.
Good idea.
Just because I want to actually carry a pump, and so I don't use the stem one. But yeah, man, like I think one of the things that's pretty cool that's happening now in the industry more than I feel like I've experienced in the past is I feel like small brands, including PNW and stuff, are coming up with innovative solutions to products that the bigger brands just, in a sense, are just overlooking because they have to almost, right? They're so focused on being this big brand that they can't look at the small things. So I look at like MRP with like the Boostinator and OneUp with the EDC tool, and you guys actually have your range stem has a GoPro mount on the faceplate. Which I have like thought about this for years and was like, oh, it'd be so cool if someone made it. So there you go. You guys made it. Yeah. So I think it's really cool to see these smaller brands who have a little more flexibility in the products that they produce and everything, coming up with things that actually are innovating in the space, right? It's definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, you know, I think you nailed it. It's kind of the bigger brands kind of have to overlook these things because for us, like a few thousand of something is fantastic. Like we crushed it, but for them, that's literally nothing. Like they're selling hundreds. Like if the minimum goal for a new component for a big brand is a few 100,000, yeah, I mean like that's not even on our scope.
Whole different reality.
So they won't even look into it. They're like, no, it's a waste of time. But for us, like we could, or you know, the EDC tool is a great example. Like they're selling a ton of those things. It's because they narrowed in on something that benefits riders, and they were able to invest in the time and the technology to do it. And they're carving out a really good part of the market for themselves.
It's like the whole business model of problem solvers. I mean, that's really cool.
Oh my God,
Unique things, and then just push on those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, an example within our house is our 27.2 droppers. Like I almost didn't bring those in. You know, you were asking what I'm most proud of. You asked for one product, lum levers. Second is our 27.2 droppers, man. Like the cool thing about those is the market is so diverse. Yeah. It's everyone from like elite level cross country racer who's got a Specialized Epic that they want to dropper on to steel hardtail person or, you know, old school tie bike or whatever, to gravel grinders, to cyclocross. Like we're now crossing across everything, but the one common thread is everyone mountain bikes. And this may be their second or third bike in their steed and they want to pick it up. Or in their stable, not their steed. So that's a cool thing, and that's our second top selling product is 27.2. Cool. So that one's been very cool for us. Yeah.
Well, I don't have any 27.2 bikes left, but it does actually bring up, because my old cyclocross bike was 27.2. Is having a dropper post on your gravel or cyclocross bike as awesome as it looks? Because I've been wrestling with the fact that I've got a nice but very aggressive gravel bike. And I mean aggressive in that, like, I can jump this thing and it's going to hold up no problem.
There you go.
But I have not made the jump to a dropper post on there, primarily just out of weight, right? Like, because I do use this as a road bike also. But is it worth it to throw a dropper on there? Like,
yeah, so
I'm tempted.
Just to distinguish and call it the elephant in the room. So World Cup cyclocross riders, I don't think they're going to be using droppers anytime soon, if ever. Because, like, what's the benefit, right? Like, they're not riding typically super... I just don't see the benefit, and weight is such an issue for that elite level. But everything else, oh my God, it's fun, dude. Because like you just came in on, like, gravel bikes nowadays are burlier. You can ride them off-road. You can ride them on single track if you wanted. You can do double track, whatever. Having a dropper is huge, and it has other benefits outside of just getting out of the way on downhills. The other nice one is if your bike is totally loaded up with bags and you're tired and you go to stop, if you have the seat down and you go to put your foot down, way easier to get off the bike than to kind of have your legs falling apart and then you have this heavy bike and the thing topples over. Or at a stoplight. Yeah. That's another one is we have some commuters putting them on their bikes. Whole new opportunity we're not expecting, but that's something that we're actually looking into for 2019. Nice. So I don't know, that gets me excited because we're all about just trying to get people on their bike riding and having fun, and that's a totally... not something I would have expected would have happened, but here it is, and we're right in it, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And you guys have a pretty unique lever integration for that too, where it actually is kind of in the vertical position of the drop bar itself. Yep. So I haven't put one of these on yet, but it does look like you could basically reach that lever from either hand position, either on the hoods or down in the drops. Yeah, it actually, it fits right in the drops. The clamps, well, 23.8 millimeters, so 24 millimeter essentially, because the diameter of the drop is a little bit larger. So it fits in there, and other than that, it's our standard Cascade lever or pine lever. And then you actually, we include some really flexible housing. So you wrap that under your bar tape, and then you connect it with a little ferrule to standard housing to the post. Oh, it's rad. Cool. Yeah, so, we've been selling a lot of those lately. How long before we get you doing a new Haka Crazy Send It video with a dropper post on it? Oh, man. Damian's working on it. And Jeff, if you want to get in on it, dude, we'd love it. Yeah, Damian's, he got one built up, and he's just, he got like a trail built and everything for this, so it should be cool. Yeah.
I had the chance to go work with a dealer of Ibis, actually, who moves a lot of their gravel bikes. They wanted to do some in-house content, and I just haven't had a chance to make it happen. But we were going to look at doing some gravel stuff on a gravel bike, and I don't actually own a drop bar bike anymore.
Yeah,
I've gotten to be at that point in my life.
Did you ever see the video of Mike Montgomery?
Oh, or 360ing or backflipping?
I think he did both.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
That was really sketchy. Yeah, on dirt jumps.
I think the 360 is way gnarlier than the backflip.
Yeah, backflip, like at least you're keeping a consistent line, and for a guy like him, those are second nature. But 360, dude, because that wheel could taco very easily. Yeah,
and your contact patch when you're landing, you've got to be so dialed with your air awareness has to be really good.
Those are nuts. Yeah, and that was on a Crux, I think. Okay. Cyclocross bike or tricross, anyway, something.
I haven't even ridden a drop bar bike since that Cali Tava helmet video in 2015. So.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Been off of it. I
still dream about that video though, so it's affecting, man. You need to get back out on one just to keep us inspired.
It was fun, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. As far as like. We talked about your products, what you think are kind of the ones you're most proud of or whatever. Jeff and I have been talking about what we think is what we're calling the top tech. And it's this idea of products that have literally transformed the bike as we know it in modern day, right? And so for me, like Dropper Post was the one. If you had a product, and it doesn't just have to be yours, but products out there, what do you think is one of the most transformative products that came through the bike industry?
Dropper by far, but that one's used. So I do find the benefit of 1x pretty compelling. Cool. Because I was riding 1x10 before that was going on.
Oh yeah.
It sucked, because you got like a 30.
It didn't suck.
With a 34 cassette in the back, like it's kind of brutal climbing on that.
You just gotta stand up.
Yeah. No, you do. Compared to now, though, like, I can be so lazy now.
They were stronger and better looking.
No, it got me in great shape, and you just kind of forced it. And I haven't run a front derailleur since I was a kid. Yeah, like I jumped right into 1x, and so having the wide range, I think that's pretty cool. Now, Shimano's got the 1051 XTR or something like that I saw, so that's up there with SRAM's already doing something similar.
Yeah.
So now we have Point being, you have two brands that are the leaders in that. Both have options now. That's pretty cool. So I'm excited about that. It reduces the weight of the bikes, and it's much simpler setup. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Outside of that, it's I think about this a lot. The industry, from a technology standpoint, has been iterative for a long time now. Like there haven't been huge technological jumps like you know, carbon frame or full suspension or something like that. Like if you look at a rear shock 10 years ago versus now, way better.
Yeah.
But it very kind of iteratively got there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a dropper, a 1x, like that's pretty substantial. Or even brakes, like brakes are similar to what they've been for, I don't know, 8 years or now. I mean, they work much better.
The Shimano's are pretty consistent in the, yeah, I think you're right on the brakes.
Yeah.
I'd say the wide carbon rims that don't just rattle you to death and that don't just break right
That's
away
cool.
have definitely improved.
That's definitely been a game changer. Yeah, that one's been fun to watch. Yeah, what else? What else have you guys been out there? Geos is huge.
Yeah.
That one's been, and that's been what, last, I guess 4 years now? We've been really cranking into that hard.
Something like that.
Of like short chain stays, longer reach, trying to it's fun to watch now that I'm not in it because it's brutal when you're in there and you make the wrong call. But now that I'm from the outside seeing it, it's cool seeing how we've been shifting, like where is the optimal position in the bike in conjunction with the bottom bracket. That's cool to watch. Because now that everyone wants shorter chain stays, make the bike more snappy, you also don't want to be looping out on climbs and you don't want your tire hitting the frame and all this stuff. So, and then with the dropper, you want a more steep seat tube. So there's a lot of things that you're shifting around, but the reach getting longer makes sense and it works really well. So that's cool to see. Because yeah, when those bikes first came out, reach kind of stayed somewhat consistent, but chain stays got shorter. And then you just end up on this tiny little bike. So we had like a season or two of those.
Gotcha.
I'm glad those got flushed out. And now we're back to what makes sense.
At your 6'2" stature.
Oh, dude, no good, no good, no good. So yeah, no, that's been fun to watch. Yeah, I think Geos, and then I don't know. Yeah, the wide rim, wide tire, optimized tire for wide rims has been very cool.
Sweet.
That's such a subtle one. I was kind of expecting that to be kind of a gimmick, but you get so much more grip.
Yeah,
it's
with
cool.
The wider rims.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
So that one's been good too. I don't know. I feel like with suspension design, we're right on the brink of something huge coming.
Oh man.
Like long travel, climbable, and lightweight. Those are kind of the three you want to hit. So I think we're close. We'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now, Jeff and I maybe have differing views on things like Fox Live.
Where are you at on that?
I land on the, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to be that guy, but I'm glad that is being looked into because I'm with you. I kind of feel like suspension for the most part is, like you said, it's iterative. It's just kind of gradually increased in performance.
Sure.
But we are, I think, at a precipice of changing how suspension functions. Yeah. And I'm definitely like a purist, right? Like I come from a surfing and skateboarding background and, motors and chains and all that kind of stuff has never been part of my ethos. Yeah. But there is something to this where, like, are we going to be able to stop technology? Probably not. So how can we use it so that it makes the simplicity of riding even more, in a sense, pure, right? Like, and I know that sounds counterintuitive, but that's kind of where I lean. I think Jeff is more on the, I'm not so sure I want anything electronic on my bike.
Yeah, sort of.
I could be reading into this. So.
I'll ask you guys both this question. Would you rather have electronic suspension or a linkage fork?
I'll go with the electronic shifting.
What about you?
Sorry, suspension. I think I'll go with suspension. I see the value if it's done well. Like there's cars, Formula One, for instance, they use electromagnetic damping that's reactive immediately, so it can be done. I know a car is much different than a bike, but still, like the technology's out there. But it's cost prohibitive. I'm not spending however much that thing is, and it's bike specific. So it's just the first start, so we'll get there at some point. What's up with this linkage fork?
In deep, right? Like somebody's researching it, and I'm sure there's more than just Fox. SRAM has had stuff.
I can only assume.
Here and there, whatever. And so I'm sure there's quite a bit being looked into. But like even things like the Shockwiz that came out.
I want to try that thing. That looks cool.
I know. I'm about to order one.
So I'm using it right now, and it's fantastic because I'm actually pretty decent at tuning forks and rear suspension. And like I still, if you're not riding the same track over and over and over and over, sometimes it can be hard to dial it in just right. And so I threw the Shockwiz on, and turns out I had like a couple clicks here or a slight air pressure change here, and it was just stuff that it would have taken me a ton of rides to do, whereas I could kind of do it in one very diverse ride, you know? So,
yeah,
I have a question for you on the Shock Whiz. Is it, so it says like, this is your perfect setting, you are this far off. Are you able to tell it that you want perfect setting, or that you want to lower your bottom bracket feel by 5%, and you want to raise your bottom bracket feel, that you want the bike to have more progression than it natively has? Like, when it determines the perfect setting, can you
There's
change
like
that?
settings you can do for like more playful or, you know, more performance or whatever. And then you can also, you know, it gives you a spectrum to tell you kind of where your rebound, your compression, your spring rate, all those kind of things are. And so you don't have to like get exactly how it wants. So if you have a desire for a style of riding, you can actually verify that like, oh yeah, it does look like my rebound's a little bit quicker than kind of the dead middle or whatever. So I find it really fun, and I don't use it a lot, but man, it's great to like knock it out on my fork, knock it out on my rear suspension, write down all my settings and stuff, and that way if I ever let somebody else ride my bike and they adjust things, you know, I'm not all worried like, oh, I'm never gonna get this back, you know. I just go back in,
don't touch anything,
pressure, and put things back. So.
I know the feeling.
I remember seeing a drunk friend walk over to Brian Lope's race bike at Mammoth in 2004 and just start turning every knob he could get his hands on.
Oh my gosh.
Brian was not impressed. And I think he won. I don't remember. This is a long time ago. But
you helped him out?
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yep.
So with that, I think one quick question maybe before we dip out here is, are there any products in the mountain bike space that you think have actually been a giant flop? Like, that just were unimpressive?
And don't say all your competitors.
No.
I'm kidding. You would.
Man, a flop, huh?
And it could be a product type, so it doesn't even have to be a specific thing.
Can I give an example of a product I released that was a flop? How
Sure,
about that?
that'd be terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, so saw kids riding their bikes to school.
Okay.
So that's the larger realm here. So how do you create a bike that isn't like a dork, you know, these are like kids in there going into middle school, right? Like very socially
awkward.
conscious.
Yeah.
Yes, very awkward, but also not wanting to be awkward. So options basically at this time were like kids' bike that looked like mom and dad's bike, which we were kind of keying in on like, well, this is when kids start to kind of evolve into their own person, and mom and dad are embarrassing and they don't want the dorky cross-country bike. They want a BMX bike, and the parents saying, no, you don't get a BMX bike because that's not practical.
Yeah.
Like that is not, we have hills that we need you to go up and you need gears.
You're going to come home with tattoos and piercings one day.
Yeah, next thing you know, you've got a Slayer shirt on, and you know, we just don't want that. So it's, so that was kind of the two things we're balancing.
Cool.
Yeah, but I look cool. So kind of balancing the two of like X Games aspirations, but mom and dad constraints, right? So I thought of like, okay, what if we do a bike that is very similar to one of our existing mountain bikes, but it's got kind of the more skate culture look to it. It's like flat black paint with like neon colors to it. It has kind of like, it's got the short stem, so it's kind of dirt jumpy, wide handlebar. It's got a dirt jump seat on it. Semi-slick tires for like riding the skate park, you know, that style.
Single chain ring.
Single chain ring up front
Nice.
with a wide range in the back, but this would be a bike that's affordable, you know, it's like anywhere from, I think, $500 to $800
That
bike.
sounds like freakishly similar to the Dv9 that's sitting over there.
Yeah, but this thing's like full on, you know, mountain bike.
Oh,
Like, this
yeah,
is
yeah,
a
it's the
rad,
next to Big
rowdy.
Brother or something like that.
Exactly,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
So this was like, you know, anyway, so that was the idea. Went out to the shop. They're like, I don't know if I really get it, but we, you know, I've had that feedback before.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. That's sometimes a good sign, sometimes not. In this
Yeah.
case, it wasn't.
Aw.
So anyway, I think it's released. Did not do well.
Oh, no.
So lesson learned on that one was we needed to validate it more with both kids and parents,
Okay.
not just like the shop, and also it needed to not just use an existing frame we had. Like it needed to be purpose built. So that was a pretty big flop. So lesson learned on that one. But you know, there's other successes to balance it out. So that was interesting. But outside of that, I don't know. I can't think. There's a lot of products out there that are that come and go pretty quick.
Yeah.
Trying to think of one from like back in the day. That was interesting. But anyway, that's my one example. What about you guys?
Oh man, well, I'm with you on like proprietary just about anything.
Yeah,
right?
it's a bummer.
I've seen enough of that. I used to run the shop for Jenson down in Southern California, and man, we'd get guys coming in with like specialized triple crown forks, double crown forks with random axle sizes that you couldn't find anywhere, and they're like, so I'm just supposed to throw this fork away? And I'm like,
yes.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I can't find this part anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely on that. For me, like, kind of the plus tire movement is one of those things where I think it benefited the industry and bike direction ultimately. But I think I often talk about things going too far one way, so kind of our handlebar discussion, right? They go too far one way, and then they swing back. I kind of feel this way about plus bikes for like legit trail riding all mountain, right? It all kind of swung over there, and now we're back at this like 2.5, 2.6 thing, which I think is awesome. I love my 2.5s and 2.6 tires, but I feel like things kind of went a little too far on that side. Yeah, at least for trail riders. If you're out there doing bike packing and stuff, sweet, man.
Totally.
Like plus tires all day long. But for trail riders, I think it was a challenge. But what it did help, I think, is to bring wider rims and wider tires that actually have reasonable weights. Because back in the day, a 2.6 tire would just weigh, thousands and thousands of grams.
Not happening. Like 1,500 grams. Not happening.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Classic like trickle down, right? It's like we chose what we wanted from that and made it actually reasonable, and we'll see. I don't know where that one is going. Like you said, I think it has a lot of applications with packing. Like I saw the new Marin. Marin's got a new bike out that is plus size. It was one that I helped develop. It's called the Pine Mountain Steel Hardtail.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Sick bike.
Didn't Joe Murray have a hand in that one too?
Yeah, I leaned on him for some geo help with that one. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Joe's been a great help with that. So that one was cool because it's kind of perfect for that. It's not an aggressive hardtail. It's for cruising around, and plus size makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not going to be pinning that at Whistler. Like you'll roll the tire right off. So it's not happening. So anyway.
Man, I rode a Surly ice cream truck, which is a fat bike.
Yep.
With a Bluto fork. And this is like totally not sponsor correct. I ride Ibis, I ride Fox, yada, yada, yada. But they'd put WTB Trail Boss 3.0 27.5 tires on there. And the thing was so much fun.
Yeah,
I had no idea. I had
That's
a blast
awesome.
on that bike. It was killer.
That's awesome.
And like it was fine for the day there, but if I lived someplace rockier than Bellingham here, like if I was in St. George, if I was in Moab or whatever, if I was riding a place way rockier, probably in the greater desert area, I know like down by Jenson the rocks are pretty smooth, but like get out towards Las Vegas where they're harsher, I think that would be a rad setup. So I think that's one of those things where the regionality matters a lot more than, like up here in the Northwest, 2.3s work so well. It's hard to get much bigger than that. I'm trying out some 2.6s right now, and I like them, but I need to get more time on them and dial them in. I still like my 2.3s and my 29er too. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, horses for courses, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, we've been going on for a little while. I should probably wrap this thing up. Cool. Everyone, thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Big thanks to Aaron for coming up here.
Thank you both for inviting me, and thanks for everyone for listening. It was awesome.
Yeah, and actually, before we sign off, Aaron is stoking our customers out today.
Yes.
So if you are listening to this and you are interested in picking up some PNW components, you actually can enter a code at checkout on Jenson USA, and are we offering this on PNW Components?
Yeah, this is on PNW Components as well. Yeah.
So you can go to either place. We've got a good selection of dropper posts. They've got their bars and stems on their site. So you can head to either one, and it's going to be the code podcast15. Pretty easy, and that's going to be 15 podcast15.
How big's the discount that'll earn you?
So that is 15%. Yeah, and we offer free.
The 15's for the discount. So.
Yes. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Sweet. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Be sure to listen to our past episodes on SoundCloud, Google Play, and the big one, iTunes.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard us discuss your favorite topic, shoot us an email, podcast@jensonusa.com, and be sure to follow Jenson USA's Instagram and Facebook and YouTube pages.
Absolutely. And as always, we're going to shout out to Jeff's channels himself. He's got his Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channels that are all killing it. And if you're actually looking for some unique content that's going to be focused on how to ride like Jeff Kendall-Weed, subscribe to his Patreon account. That's going to help him directly when you subscribe to that. It is a donation thing, and you get something out of it. So you'll have these fresh videos where he teaches you how to do manuals for a mile and how to like do nose wheelies through corners and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be joining myself because I can't do any of those things. So I'm going to be on his Patreon here shortly. But check it out, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, enjoyed getting to know Aaron from PNW. Check out their products, tons of cool stuff. So we'll be back next week with or probably 2 weeks from now, with our second episode of Talk Tech with Jeff, and we'll be going through that. But that pretty much wraps things up for us. So as always, remember to keep pedaling.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. See you.